So a lot of people don't know this, but I made my first $1 million and actually my first few $1 million literally just selling a Google Doc. And a lot of people don't know this because, obviously now I'm selling a lot of courses. It's a little bit different. But yeah, back in 2019 into early 2020, I made my first $1 million literally with a Google Doc. And if you've been in my world, and by the way, I'm going to like give you a copy of the Google Doc so you can literally visualize this. But a lot of people, like if you've been in my world for like a hot second, you might have actually purchased from me with that Google Doc. You might actually know exactly what I'm talking about. It was called the Get Clients Now program. I charged $1,000 for it, and then subsequently I raised it up to 1,500, and I just sold it over and over and over again via a Google Doc and a PayPal link for literally years. I would change nothing to the Google Doc except I would have to update the year. So it would be like change 2019 to 2020. And then once 2020 rolled around, I would have to change the date to 2021. But it worked so well for years. And let me tell you a few things that I did right. This is how I was able to make so much money from a Google Doc. One, you need to understand what the marketplace looked like back in 2019. Everyone believed that you had to sell via sales calls. So I was one of the few people that wasn't making people hop on a phone to work with a business coach. So if you wanted a business coach back in like 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, even really a lot of 2020, you had to hop on a sales call. There was genuinely no other way to do it. You certainly couldn't just check out. If you're newer to our digital product world, if you're newer to this world of online entrepreneurship, you might not know that. So one of the big reasons it worked was good timing on my end. Not many people were doing sales with a Google Doc and a link. It was very casual. It was a pattern interrupt. People loved it. A lot of people don't feel the need to be on an hour-long sales call. They kind of just know they want to work with you and they want to read the details and see how much it's going to cost. I capitalized on that. One of my big sayings that I say over and over and over again is remove the obstacle to the money, remove the obstacle to the money, remove the obstacle to the money. And in many cases, for many business coaches, their sales call was actually the obstacle to the money. They thought it was the vehicle to the money. No, 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 no. It was the obstacle to the money. So I removed that. The second thing that I did that was very unique at the time was I didn't listen to my mentors who told me you need to charge more than $1,000. You will never scale a seven-figure business. You will never have a seven-figure business if you're only charging $997. I heard that so often when I was scaling to $1 million, but I had a gut instinct that I could do it, and I did. So not only was my method of selling a pattern interrupt for the industry, the method like the price point was also a pattern interrupt. In a similar way to how when I then in 2022, 2023 pivoted to very low ticket out of necessity, right? Because I was a mom, like I was a single mom. I needed to not be doing anything at all. I needed to be selling totally hands off low ticket stuff, which is how I'm like scaling up to 10 million now is in the low ticket. But I scaled to basically the way it works is like the less I charge, the more I seem to make because I went from charging like I think it was like $5,000, which was a very common coaching package price back in 2000, like 18, 19, to then charging $1,000, which was way cheaper. And I removed the obstacle to sell and I just sold it over a Google Doc, which again worked super well, which I'll give you the actual Google Doc. I think is very interesting for you to read to see what I was up to in 2019. And however, all of that to say, there's one thing that I did that is the reason I hit $1 million and continue to hit $1 million until I started hitting multiple millions of dollars. But for 3 years, I made right around $1 million. So it was like a million, 1.3, 1.5, and I think 1.3 again. So very steady, selling the same $997 product or $1,500 product, same essentially $1,000 product over and over and over again for years. I followed, and you may have heard me talk about it before, but if you haven't, it's a very important thing for you to learn. If you don't do this, you will not hit $1 million business. I followed the rule of the 5 ones. Solve one problem for one target market with one product, not 3 products, not 2 products, not 5 products, one product on one platform, not Instagram, not YouTube, not email, one platform for 1 year. So I started following that rule of 5 ones for in November of 2019. By May of 2020, I'd hit the $1 million run rate and I never dropped below it. I've never made less than $1 million a year. I've made 1.3, 1.3, 1.5, 1.3, I think is what it was. And then it was 3.9 last year. I'm already over 4 million this year. So I've made millions of dollars and I got to 1 million. This is the rule. You get to 1 million by selling one product. As soon as you're over $1 million, so as soon as you're at 7 figures, you can break one of those rules. That's kind of like the way it goes. So Michael Masterson in his book, Ready, Fire, Aim, which I highly recommend you all read, he goes from 0 to 1 million, get really, really, really good at selling one product. It's a lot of work to learn how to properly market a product to $1 million. You cannot do it if you're trying to sell multiple products on multiple platforms with multiple target markets. You can't do it. So one product for one year or until you hit $1 million. After, this is what Michael Masterson says in his book, Ready, Fire, Aim, which I, again, highly recommend you read. After you get to $1 million, then what you're going to do is launch and market as many products as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can, which is the stage we're in. We're launching at least one new product a month. It's nuts over here. And I know that we're not even tapping into anywhere near our potential as a team. I know we could be doing even more. And I know that as soon as we do more, we're going to hit 10 million. Right now, I think we're already at 4 million and it's July. I think we're going to land at like 7 or 8 for the year. I think that's like a reasonable projection is 7 or 8 million. So we will double what we did last year at 4 million, which is crazy. And I know that the more we do, the more we launch and market our products exactly like we're supposed to, the more money we're going to make. So it's a very important lesson. There's several things I think that are very important from this. I get asked about this a lot. Like, tell me about the product you did to your first million. Like, how did you get to your first million? What did you do? And so I wanted to answer it. And I think there's a couple of really important things. There are some rules that you cannot ignore. I personally have talked to many millionaires, a couple of billionaires. And not only that, I've talked to many very successful business consultants who help people get like small businesses off the ground. Do you know what they all say? They all say exactly what I said. You have to focus. You have to only sell one product at the beginning. You have to only post on one platform. You have to simplify. A nice way of saying it is simple scales, fancy fails. So if you're trying to get fancy, if you're complicated, it's not going to scale. So there's some rules you cannot break. And my mentor, he would always say, like, look, you can break any rule you want. Just know it's going to take you longer to get to your million. And that's a nice way of saying you're not going to get to 1 million until you get with the program. So that's the first thing is like there's some rules that just seem to be truths for scaling. The rule of the 5 ones is one I teach about so often. I talk about it constantly because it's what got me to 1 million. It's what's got all my friends to $1 million businesses. It's what's getting my students in my inner circle program to $1 million. We just had another student, Brooke. She's an artist. She just hit her first $1 million year. Guess what? She's selling one product, and that's how she got there. So that's the first rule. The other thing, though, is that if you are willing to submit yourself to the rules that actually matter, I think you can. It's so simple. Like this is all so much more simple than you think it is. And I wish, like that is what I wish someone had told me, because I had to figure it out all by myself that I could make millions of dollars with a Google Doc and a PayPal link for years, never needing to change up my strategy, never needing to do anything except send people the Google Doc. And then they would always reply and say, yes, I'm in. If you're one of my OGs, you did that exact thing with me. We were chatting and then you said, yes, I'm in. And then I sent you the link to pay. And we did that over and over and over again. And it was so simple. And that is why we hit $1 million. So you realize that by being brave and cutting down your product line, cutting down the platforms you're posting on, cutting it down, you're actually creating the ability to focus up and go really, really deep. And that is how you're going to get to $1 million. So what I'm going to do is in the description, I'm going to link to that Google Doc. I'm sure you're all very curious. It's going to blow you away by how simple it is. It is literally like my recollection of it is like it's a 2-page Google Doc. It's very cool. Go check that out in the description, and that's where I'll see you.